Hello, everyone, and thank you for being here. I know that there is a lot going on, both at this conference and in the world, so I really appreciate that you decided to spend these 20 minutes with me. I'm Viviana Reverón, and I'm the Director of Audience Engagement and Distribution at Common Sense. Common Sense is the nation's leading nonprofit organization dedicated to improving the lives of all kinds of families by providing the trustworthy information, education, and the independent voice that they need to thrive in the 21st century. Some of you may know our Common Sense education programs, and that includes the digital citizenship curriculum for students grades K to 12, which includes lessons on important topics like online safety, news and media literacy, digital footprint, and more. Then our professional development offerings, which we have ongoing all the time in our website available, and of course our research-based ratings and reviews for EdTech. And today I'm actually joined by Kelly Mendoza, our Vice President of Education Programs. But let's get to the topic of today, which is tech-powered family engagement. Starting with the digital divide. We've been talking about the digital divide for a very long time. The first time I heard the term was back in 2005. Yet in 2020, when the pandemic hit, we all had to hit the reality. A lot of families were still not connected or underconnected in the US. In fact, in a research that we published back in 2020, we found that between 15 and 16 million students lacked enough connectivity to have a proper distance learning. And when it came to rural areas, that percentage goes up all the way to 37%. Unsurprisingly, Black, Latino, and Native American students have it even worse. That's a very large number of students who are still not connected. And when the pandemic hit, families really didn't know what to do. I mean, these last 2 years have been very difficult. I don't have to tell you that. But the digital divide made it worse for them and for the schools. Like, they needed to figure out what to do. Like, I even heard of some teachers having to go door to door to provide the information to the students. In the midst of the emergency, some families did get connected. Some of them got hotspots, some others got free Wi-Fi, and even some organizations distributed devices. However, there is still a lot of work to do. Even with the emergency broadband program and the affordable connectivity program that now supports families with some economic support. But really, there is still a lot of work to do. And when we talk about access, it's really not just about having devices or having broadband. Access is also about meeting parents and caregivers where they are. Many of you use emails for work, and you're used to getting newsletters about important information. Managing an inbox is second nature to you. But that's not the case for everyone. If you work in construction, agriculture, or the service industry, all you need to get the job done is to call or to text. It's really a matter of habits. And if a computer wasn't the first device that you used to use the internet, but a mobile device, chances are that you only opened that account so that you could create a social media account and that in other apps. But that's really it. Back when we could meet parents in person in education fairs, we noticed that many of them don't know their emails. And in many cases, it's only their kids who know them. In Latin America, WhatsApp is used for everything. Even for work things that you wouldn't imagine, that's what they use. So of course, I'm not saying that email is not the right way to reach parents, but if you're trying to reach parents who are in low-income households, chances are that that's not the best way to connect with them. But of course, ultimately, it's about getting to know your community and your district. Another habit that is not as universal as you may think is Googling for things. A lot of parents, particularly Latino and Black parents, go directly to YouTube when they want to find out something. That's very important because it gives us a clue on the format that they prefer. We are all growing more and more accustomed to watching videos, and when they are accompanied by texts and captions and subtitles, then you really give an option for different people with different learning preferences and different literacy levels. Thinking about these habits and understanding how limited time is for parents, we created a text message program for parents of kids 0 to 8, or pre-K to 2nd grade, that any community organization or school can share. We send tips about media balance, using technology for a healthy development, and provide information about digital skills. The program is free, and anyone with a mobile phone in the US can use it. We survey our users every year, and we started back in 2019. That's how we keep the pulse of what they want to know and what they're interested in when it comes to the use of media and tech. Now, the #1 thing that they expect for us continue to be that they want recommendations on age-appropriate movies, TV shows, books, and apps. But we do see some shifts and some emerging topics. Back in 2020, it was all about distance learning, and they wanted to know how they could help their kids' academics. By the end of 2021, their second concern became mental health, which is not surprising considering that we are really in a mental health crisis right now. So now we will think about how to provide that information to them and the relationship between technology and mental health in an accessible way. That survey in 2021 also confirmed that more than half of our users come from households in low-income families. And we're really happy about that because those are really the families that we wanted to reach with this program. We also learned that they find it useful and that we've helped them manage screen time, online learning, and finding age-appropriate content. And by the way, these are all topics that are great conversation starters for schools. Parents and caregivers are really concerned about how technology is affecting their children. The very last point that I want to make about the text program is that it's available in English and in Spanish. 77% of English learners are Spanish speakers, so that's where we started. But of course, when we talk about accessibility, we cannot forget about language. We should all really strive to have all the language speaked in each community available. So a positive thing that happened in the pandemic was that we witnessed how much parents really want to show up for their kids. Thinking that parents are doing their best and remembering how difficult it is to be a parent or caregiver is always a good place to start. Long commutes, working multiple work hours, and taking care of other family members are things that were really getting in the way of them being able to go to schools. But when they were able to join remotely, they actually showed up, even if that meant multitasking. Everyone wants flexibility. Just like offices are becoming remote or hybrid, schools can also use video conferencing and dialing tools to get parents to join meetings. Some of them can attend in person, but for those who can't, at least they can have an idea of what is happening in school and staying informed. And beyond that, you can provide a recording, or you can even have other formats where you can provide takeaways for them. That way, you really ensure that your message is getting across to as much people as possible. This conference is a good example of that. A lot of people probably wanted to be here today, but they couldn't. But at least they could use the online version to find out what's happening and keeping up with all the trends. And flexibility can also benefit schools. Think about what is it that you can do in a sustainable way. How can you also make it easy for the teachers, for the parent liaisons, and for the administrators? Before the pandemic, we were all talking about how difficult it was to bring parents to schools. And now we have at least a partial solution that is worth exploring. Now, of course, coming together in one place as a community has a power that is not to be dismissed. And that's another conversation that is happening in the workplace that can be translated to family engagement. Asking people to commute for 1 to 2 hours to meet in person must have a clear purpose. When they go back home, they have to think that it was worthwhile and that it was an experience that they only could have had in person. That's how you get them to come back the next time. And that means thinking beyond a presentation. Think about activities that can bring parents together, where they can talk and really share with each other. We developed a series of workshops that do that. For example, they can share about what's their ideal balance of technology use in a week, and there is another one where parents can talk about how they use technology when they were kids, so that way they can connect with what their kids are going through right now. Parents have a lot of knowledge and they want to share it. Also, they are more likely to listen to other parents who are going through the same thing that they are. And another way that is you can make in-person activities relevant for them is involving the kids in the activities. If parents are juggling different responsibilities, it's possible that they're feeling that they're not spending enough quality time with them. So just bring them in. That time can really help them bond, and that's a real good incentive for them to go to these activities. You can also make it a movie night. Having difficult conversations can be easier if you actually talk about a character or a storyline instead of talking directly about a specific person. And definitely co-viewing and having conversations after what kids watch is a great way for them to bond as a family. So to conclude, this year is the right time to think about how you can incorporate technology into your strategy. To think about all the things that you did in the last couple of years, which ones do you want to keep? And more importantly, asking the parents how they want to move forward, while always remembering that there is nothing like building a community and making events in person that are really worthwhile for them. Thank you. We have a few minutes for questions, if anyone has any question. Yes?
Yeah, I was just wondering, you mentioned that you particularly service low-income families. I'm wondering how you do that extension.
Yeah, so it's many things. The first thing is definitely empathy and learning that their lifestyles and their habits are very different from what you might expect, and finding ways to reach them where they are. Like really, one of the things that we never imagined when we started to work was that just having blog articles was not the right way to reach them. Like we would expect that everyone Googles and they would find us. But that's not what happens. We needed to go to them. And that's why we created the text message program. That's why we've had a focus on social media, because that's where they are. So it's really about thinking about what they need and then reaching them where they are. Mm-hmm. There was someone else in the back?
So which social media platforms are there like more used in others?
Yeah, so there are different platforms. The one that we use is called Community Connect Labs, and it's based on Twilio. A lot of those apps are based in that API.
How did you measure success of your texting program, and how did you incorporate feedback on the way to learn from your users how to improve the program?
Yeah, so as I mentioned, we survey them every year, and we ask them first if they would recommend the program to other families. Right now, what is called the NPS score is 49, which is very high. So that way we know that they like it enough that they would recommend it to their families and friends. We also ask them if they feel more confident in managing their kids' screen time, finding apps for their kids and distance learning. And also just, and we use that same platform or moment to also ask them about what they're concerned about. And it's in the same text thing, so that's really interesting. We don't have to send them anywhere else. In the same place where they are getting the images, they just get the survey. Does anybody else have any other question? I'm going to leave this up. This is how you can connect with me and with Common Sense. There are a lot of handles up there. If you are for you, definitely follow the Common Sense Education Twitter. We share all of our resources there on a daily basis. Thank you.